A powerful message has emerged, shared through the visions of Yvonne and the communication from Father Michel Rodrigue, conveying a call to the faithful in countries like Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela. In these nations, increasingly consumed by secularism and moral decay, the Virgin Mary's urgent appeal resonates deeply, urging believers to prepare for what is to come. Her message strikes at the very heart of spiritual distress, as these nations face the consequences of losing their moral compass and turning away from Christian values. The Virgin Mary's words are not merely warnings, but a heartfelt call for spiritual renewal. She emphasizes the critical need for penance, a deepening of prayer, and a return to the foundational principles of Christianity. Without this revival of faith, she warns, these nations could face severe spiritual, social, and economic crises. Her concern is palpable, reflecting her motherly love for all of humanity and her desire to shield these nations from the destructive forces of secularism that threaten to erode their moral fiber. In her message, the Virgin identifies three significant threats to humanity that have emerged with alarming force: the loss of religious vocations, the corruption of innocence, and the overpowering lust. For worldly desires. These problems, she warns, cast a shadow over the light of faith, leaving many in darkness and leading society down a dangerous path. The Virgin's warning is clear. Unless these issues are addressed through a return to faith, there will be dire consequences for individuals and nations alike. One of the most powerful aspects of the Virgin's message is her emphasis on the Rosary as a spiritual weapon. Far from being just a prayer, she describes the Rosary as a protective shield that brings heavenly favor and divine protection. Through the Rosary, believers can meditate on the life, passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, drawing closer to Him and strengthening their faith. It is a call for the faithful to embrace this powerful tool, using it to defend against the forces of evil and to seek peace in troubled times. In addition to the Rosary, the Virgin Mary stresses the importance of the Eucharist as the essential sustenance for the soul. In a world increasingly divided by conflict and strife, she urges the faithful to turn to the sacraments, particularly the Holy Eucharist, as a source of strength, grace, and unity. In embracing the Eucharist, believers find the spiritual nourishment needed to face life's challenges with courage and steadfast faith. Yvonne, deeply moved by these revelations, understands the weight of the Virgin's message. It is not just a call to action for others, but a personal invitation to all believers to step up and take part in the spiritual renewal she seeks. This message is a plea for all of humanity to awaken to the urgency of the times and return to God with fervor and devotion. The Virgin Mary, in her boundless love, continues to guide her children, urging them to remain faithful, vigilant, and united in prayer as they navigate the turbulent times ahead. The Virgin Mary's message to the faithful is a call to return to God, urging the renunciation of the world's distractions and the deepening of our connection with the divine through penance, prayer, and a sincere adherence to the commandments. This divine invitation carries a promise. Those who choose the path of spiritual restoration will not only find their souls healed, but will also be protected and guided by God. The message is not one of fear, but of hope, as it reassures the faithful that if they turn back to God, they will receive His grace and mercy in abundance. It is an invitation to embark on a journey of spiritual revival, where divine protection and strength will be granted to those who remain steadfast in faith. As this powerful message from the Virgin Mary spreads, it ignites a spiritual awakening across the nations she has visited, especially in places where people are in desperate need of hope. In Mexico, communities begin to embrace the message with open hearts. Processions in honor of the Virgin are organized, with Marian devotion reaching new heights. Attendance at Mass increases, as the faithful feel a renewed sense of purpose and urgency to draw closer to God. In rural areas, families unite every evening to pray the Rosary, trusting in the protection and guidance of their Heavenly Mother. The power of collective prayer brings communities together, creating an atmosphere of faith and unity in the face of growing challenges. In Brazil, a youth movement is sparked by the Virgin Mary's message. Young people, inspired by her words, form prayer groups, organize Eucharistic adoration sessions, and take part in vigil prayers. Catholic schools recognize the urgency of nurturing faith among the younger generation, launching catechesis programs focused on the importance of prayer and devotion. They are encouraged to embrace the Rosary as a spiritual tool, strengthening their bond with Christ through the Virgin Mary's intercession. These youth-driven efforts serve as a counteraction to the secular forces that have been gaining ground in the nation. The faith is not just revived, it is renewed with enthusiasm, and the youth are becoming the driving force behind a spiritual regeneration. In the favelas of Brazil, where hardship and poverty often reign, the Virgin Mary's message inspires community projects aimed at fostering peace and reconciliation. Her words act as a balm to those who have been beaten down by life's difficulties, urging them to come together in faith and love, to rebuild their communities in the light of God's grace. Her teachings provide hope in the darkest places, reminding the poor and marginalized that they are not forgotten by God. In Argentina, a nation rich in spiritual heritage, the Virgin Mary's message touches the hearts of many who are burdened by social and political unrest. The faithful come together, finding solace in her words of unity and peace. Parishes across the country open their doors for prayer marathons and days of Eucharistic adoration. People gather in spirit, seeking to restore their nation through the collective power of prayer. Families spend more time in prayer at home, cultivating a spirit of peace and devotion in their households. The Virgin Mary's call to spiritual renewal is met with open arms, as communities seek to find common ground through faith. In Venezuela and Colombia, where social, political, and economic turmoil have ravaged the lives of many, the Virgin Mary's message becomes a beacon of hope. In Colombia, a country blessed with breathtaking natural beauty but torn apart by internal strife, the faithful set up prayer circles to seek peace and strength. These circles are not just a cry for help, but a demonstration of their commitment to prayer, asking God for the courage to face their difficulties with unwavering faith. Her message is embraced with new vigor, as the people recognize that prayer is their most powerful weapon in the battle against despair. In Venezuela, where the people have been enduring economic collapse and political instability, the Virgin Mary's message offers both hope and encouragement. It is a message of spiritual restoration and peace in the midst of chaos. The people of Venezuela, though suffering greatly, find strength in the faith that the Virgin Mary's message ignites within them. Her call to return to God provides the people with the strength to face the challenges before them, as they know that their prayers will not go unanswered. The message of the Virgin Mary has the power to transform hearts, renew spirits, and unite communities across the globe. As the faithful in these nations answer her call with prayer, penance, and renewed dedication to the sacraments, they will experience spiritual healing and divine protection. The Virgin Mary's words echo the promise that even in the face of adversity, God's grace will be poured out on all who turn to Him with open hearts and minds. In a world that seems to be drifting further from its Christian roots, her message offers a path back, a path to spiritual revival, peace, and unity. Together, as one body in Christ, we can weather the storm and emerge stronger in faith, armed with the power of prayer, the Rosary, and the Eucharist. In the midst of suffering and hardship, the Virgin Mary's words shine as a beacon of hope, urging the faithful to remain steadfast in their faith. Her teachings inspire and uplift the people of nations caught in the turmoil of secularism and moral decay, offering a path forward in the face of adversity. In a world that seems overshadowed by darkness, the Virgin Mary reminds us that there is always hope in the light of Christ. Her message calls for a spiritual rejuvenation, a return to the foundations of Christian principles, which can transform our hearts and guide our actions. The message is clear: renewed devotion to prayer, faith, and the sacraments is not only the way to salvation, but the stronghold against the ever-growing challenges of our time. In countries like Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela, where secularism and moral decline threaten the very fabric of society, the Virgin Mary encourages the faithful to embrace the Rosary, the Eucharist, and a life of penance. By doing so, they will be armed with spiritual protection to face the dangers of their time and defend their communities from the oncoming storm. Her message offers more than just a call to action. It offers a promise that by responding to her plea, believers can help prevent the crises that seem inevitable and lay the groundwork for a future filled with peace and stability. In Yvonne, the faithful find an inspiring example of someone who is deeply moved by the Virgin's words. As Yvonne spreads her message, he understands that he is part of a larger community of believers working together to change the world. He is not alone in this mission, and neither are we. The Virgin Mary's call reaches deep into the hearts of people, not just in the countries where Yvonne's efforts have touched, but across the globe. Her call to return to Christian values, to embrace prayer and penance, is an invitation to a spiritual rebirth that transcends boundaries and unites us all in a common purpose. The faithful are invited to be part of this divine renewal, acting as instruments of peace, hope, and prosperity in a world that so desperately needs it. Her message provides the way to salvation during this turbulent time. By responding to her call with prayer, penance, and a commitment to live out Christian values, the faithful can contribute to the spiritual awakening that will safeguard not only their countries but the hearts and souls of generations to come. As we face the uncertainties of our time, the message of the Virgin Mary stands as a powerful reminder that through faith, prayer, and devotion, we can rise above the challenges and be the light in a world that longs for hope. Together, as a united community of believers, we have the strength to usher in a new era of faith and peace. Thank you for joining me on this profound journey. Your participation and presence make this investigation all the more powerful, and I pray that the shared stories of our faith and humanity inspire and uplift you. Let us remain vigilant and open to future messages, staying true to our commitment to prayer, penance, and devotion as we move forward together. May the peace and blessings of Christ be with you all.